views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
And hello, everyone, and welcome to Open, and the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Daren Jaime, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough, as well as across New York City. Coming up on today's show, September is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and we'll learn about the risk factors and warning signs to figure out if your loved one is contemplating at risk for suicide. Then also, we'll speak to the founder and CEO of the Zutor Concierge on tactics for parents who are helping their kids learn virtually. And then a little later on, we're going to learn how New York City's first Golden Corral restaurant has adapted its services to COVID-19. Golden Corral is opening up right here in the borough of the Bronx. And then finally, we'll sit down with the founder of the Dough Project on how engaging with dough plays an important role in a child's development and sensory learning. So stay tuned, because all this and much more is heading your way, because right now we're officially open. To Open. Today is Wednesday, September 23rd, and yes, you are watching the show that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We encourage you to stay connected to us on all of our social media platforms at BronxNet TV, and we also want to welcome our viewers who are watching on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is broadcast live simultaneously on the MNN channel. Well, a lot has certainly gone on through the course of the past week. We'll take you through a few things with our Bronx updates. Starting off with local news, New York City Council member Vanessa Gibson partnered with the Street Vendor Project, providing assistance to the residents of Butler houses. Our reporter Arlene Makoko was in the field, and she brings us the story right now.
I ain't gonna lie, it's been hard.
Hard since COVID-19 shut down the economy, leaving so many out of work, including Leonard Seeley here, grateful to the Street Vendor Project, and New York City Councilmember Vanessa Gibson, both letting residents here at the Butler houses know they care.
We're giving out water bottles. As you can see, we're giving out hand sanitizer. We're giving out face masks.
And along with that, healthy meals.
We're giving out halal and Spanish meals that are prepared by one of our street vendors right here in the Bronx.
A lot of people don't have food, and a lot of people can't afford to get things because of the job and the pandemic. So therefore, we are very grateful that the councilwoman coming here today.
Tenant President Cornell Knowlton also here to assist in giving out over 500 bags, not only filled with a meal, but also information on resources and programs.
We always want to make sure that we are supportive of families that are in need. As we prepare for schools to reopen, we also want to make sure that we're providing opportunities for our children. And so here at D4 at Butler Community Center, we do a lot of work around literacy, GED, job preparation, resume building. There's an after-school program here. We're doing a lot for older residents here at Butler houses.
Along with providing weekly meals for residents, they've opened space for children within the complex enrolled in the New York City Public School Blended Learning Program. For more information, go to council.nyc.gov/district-16 or call 718-588-7500.
So in a complex with 2,000 units and 6,000 residents, a day like today can really mean a great difference. Here in the Morsani section, Arlene Makoko for BronxNet.
And thank you, Arlene. Turning to educational news, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio announced delays with in-person learning at city schools. Schools will be open in phases over the course of the next couple of weeks. Our BronxNet reporter, Darissa White, brings us the story as well.
The opening of city schools will be delayed again. The mayor announced Thursday that in-person learning will be phased through the next couple of weeks. In the briefing, the mayor agreed with his constituents, parents, and educators, saying schools are just not ready yet.
Although they acknowledged that some real progress had been made, that not enough had been made, and more had to be done to make sure that things would be as strong as they needed to be.
Natalie, a concerned parent, raised concerns about sending her children back to school so soon. She believes the Department of Education and the city isn't prepared, so she opted for the remote learning approach.
I would prefer to teach them and make sure that they're safe at home than send them to school and not know what's going on.
Valid concerns that the mayor listened to.
As a result of that meeting, we talked through what it would take step by step to get things right for in-person learning and, of course, remote learning as well.
So, for parents that had planned to send their children to school next week, the city rolled out new phases. September 21st, 3K, pre-K, and special education schools will return to in-person learning first, followed by K through 5 schools and K through 8 schools on September 29th. Then, on October 1st, middle schools and high schools will return. Along with the phases, the mayor announced that the DOE will add 2,500 more staff, in addition to the 2,000 that was already announced.
2,000 originally, 2,500 more. Grand total of 4,500 additional educators being added into our schools and classrooms immediately.
But for Bronx teachers like Daniel Gannon, he says he's not convinced that the city is even ready for in-person classes at all.
If I had children, would I send them to the buildings right now? Absolutely not. I don't feel safe for my own health, right, going into my building. And I certainly don't feel like my students and their families have enough of the vital information that they can make a really clear and conscious decision that they're going to come in here.
For the largest school district in the U.S., the mayor considers this progress, setting a precedent for the rest of the nation. But teachers still aren't convinced it's safe. Reporting for BronxNet, Darissa White.
And thank you, Darissa. And that's all the time we have for our Bronx updates. Stay with us. We got a full open show coming up right after this.
We know that people are dealing with the health crisis, but there's also a lot of food insecurity.
We're giving out healthy food options, and that's what's key here.
If you're a senior, you have a disability, they'll actually deliver meals to you.
The residents are anxious, they're worried, they're scared, they want to be tested.
When things were happening in our community and we couldn't get the help.
There's almost a presumption of criminality that attaches to your skin color.
The site will prioritize those who are at highest risk in the population.
If you feel symptoms and you'd like to visit one of these COVID-19 testing sites here in the Bronx, you may call the State Health Department's hotline.
Important to note about this site is no reservations are needed. This is a walk-in clinic.
A lot of us are out of work and looking for something to do.
We have the machinery and the skills to make large scales of these masks and gowns.
Take care of your people. It's going to go way further than we actually can understand.
Right now, employees like myself are just adjusting to the new reality.
Reporting from And welcome back here to Open. Suicide is the 10th leading cause for death in the United States. On average, 132 Americans take their own lives every day. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for people in ages 10 to 34. During this time of a pandemic, ongoing community unrest and other traumatic events have undoubtedly affected people's mental health. Joining us now to talk a little bit more about this is the Managing Director of Alquimedez Mental Health Counseling, Henry Montero. And Henry, good to have you.
Thank you for having me on your program.
Thank you. And as I said, you know, obviously Suicide Awareness Month is this month, but this month could not come at a more critical time, particularly for us here in America. We got COVID-19, you've got social unrest, you got, you know, the election that's around the corner. Talk to us about what you're hearing by way of suicide nationwide now.
Nationwide, we're having at least 47,000 people committing suicide or dying by suicide a year in the United States. New York is the state that has the less suicides in the country, which is also great. But at the same time, what we want to try to do is bring down whatever suicide rates at least by 10% each year until we have zero. So that's the goal.
Yeah. And when we talk about it being a goal of bringing it down by 10%, talk to us about, first of all, some signs, because I think suicide is definitely preventable in a lot of cases. Talk to us about what can be done on the prevention side.
On the prevention side, it's always best to act if the person is suicidal. there should not be any myth or any taboos about asking the question, are you suicidal? Where most suicidal cases are caught on time are in ER, emergency rooms. So most patients, they come in with whatever symptoms of depression or maybe an overdose on drugs. And through that prevention in that scenario, most cases are prevented of suicide.
Talk to me about who are the potential people that are really at risk when you talk about that, because sometimes suicide catches people off guard. We talk about celebrities, and we watch some major celebrities. I can think about Anthony Bourdain and others who you wake up one morning and then you hear they've taken their life. And ultimately, there's a surprise factor there. But to those who work in the industry, they say there's some things that really don't come as a surprise because we missed some signs and we missed some warning flags.
For most people, it's a surprise when you're in general public, but we never know what people are going through in their insides, in their hearts, what they have in their minds. And most of these celebrities, most of them live lonely lives. Some of them, there's sometimes drug use. But what's the major risk is mental health, substance use, and also having a firearm. Half of the deaths in the United States are due to firearms in the home.
Firearms. Wow. Well, I think that when we think about firearms, the automatic thought is somebody else, but then not knowing that people are actually taking their life themselves using the firearms. September is this awareness month. We're talking about suicide prevention awareness. What can people do on the form of awareness?
Well, keep in contact with your loved ones. That's the first one. Go out, seek counseling. If you feel that you want to take your life, call 911. It's the best option out there. And always seeking out counseling, either from a pastor or a psychotherapist or a psychologist. Services are out there. There's a hotline as well, a nationwide hotline. That's an excellent source for those people that are at risk.
And we talk about triggers, right? What are some of the triggers that you see that are happening now? And maybe because of societal unrest and what's going on right now, we should also be paying attention to these triggers.
There's a complete unrest in society. People are anxious, people are depressed. There's a lot of people losing their jobs. And when they see themselves without any hope, with losing the little that they have, then they start thinking about things that they shouldn't. So there's always hope out there. There's always a way out. There's always a future to look for. So right now, I know things are a little bit difficult due to the COVID-19, but always try to seek for help. That we're here to take care of you.
Yeah. And Henry, I was glad when you said earlier on in the show that, when it comes to New York, as far as our numbers there, we're doing better than a lot of people across the country. And while we do pat ourselves on the back for that, there's got to be also some keys as to why that's happening. From your perspective, why is it that maybe New York's numbers aren't as great as other places around the country?
Well, the good thing to live in a great city like New York is that we have access. We have hospitals that are less than 1 and 2 miles away. We have a lot of mental health clinics. We have a lot of resources in the city. So we have to say that we're a blessed state. We're a blessed city. We have a lot of people with compassion as well. And I think those are the primary risks, the primary solutions that we have for the people out there compared to other states in rural areas where, in order to seek treatment, people might have to travel to a facility of care. So those are the options that compared to other states in New York State.
Yeah. And we know, particularly communities of color, there's always this aversion to seeking out counseling and to really looking out and getting help that's actually needed. But talk to us. Do you feel like that barrier is actually coming down, given the fact that all the stuff that we got going on, folks do want somebody to talk to?
So Daren, that is an excellent point. Why? Because actually there are more therapists now, there are more psychologists, and more people of color as well taking care of our own. So that gives us a better opportunity, an upper hand to communicate, to emphasize, to understand the struggles that we go through day to day. So I think that is also a plus. That is also an advantage that we have, having people of our own race that actually are able to take care of our population.
Yeah, I mean, but people don't sometimes equate that to be a difference maker. But the reality is, it's a huge difference maker when you have somebody that's a minority, and you have somebody on the other side of, you have somebody on the other side of the desk or the couch or whatever that actually sees them. You know exactly, or at least you get a sense of feeling that this person at least understands where I'm coming from.
Well, I agree with you 100%. Towards my understanding, there's a huge difference when I go out and speak to a doctor and the doctor is Hispanic or the doctor is African American, and we can empathize and we understand and we could talk about certain things that maybe we wouldn't feel as comfortable speaking to a person from another race. So I think that we need more of Black people, Hispanic, going out and getting those degrees and being able to connect with the population. And there's a huge need. There's a huge population that needs our help.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about suicide ideation.
Well, suicidal ideation, it happens a lot with people that are suffering of depression. There's that constant thinking, that constant rumination of what about if I don't exist anymore, if I'm not alive? It has to be taken seriously when someone has a suicidal ideation. But the question that should be asked after that, after knowing if someone has suicidal ideation, is, do you have a plan? Are you at risk? What are your thoughts about? And depending on those answers, it's preferable to call 911. And it's always better to get committed in a hospital and go through the process. And then once you come out, when you're discharged, we could start a whole process of counseling. Maybe the patient needs medications to create a balance on their serotonin levels, and that's completely fine. That's another conversation that we have to have. If there's a need of the use of medication and how effective the medication is. There's also great treatments out there, such as genetic testing to understand what's the best course of medical treatment of medication that could be used for someone that is suffering of depression. So you're not alone. There are treatments out there. There's cognitive behavioral therapy, there's mindfulness, dialectic behavioral therapy, there's medication use. If you want to seek out for a pastor, counselor, there's a whole bunch of treatments out there that can be used for someone that is suffering of suicidal ideations or has suicidal thoughts.
Yeah. Before we leave, I want to give you a chance to give you a quick plug. You be able to share with us a little bit about the work that you do and how people might be able to get connected to you if they're thinking.
Well, you're always welcome to visit us. Our website is www.alquimedez.com, and our phone number is 315-505-2400. And we're open. We do counseling. We got great therapists working with us. We got a great population of doctors who also prescribe that are able to prescribe medication. And we work with adults and kids and the older population as well.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us and really sharing in on this conversation. It's great to bring awareness, unfortunately, for a very sad thing that a lot of Americans have to grapple with and deal with, and families, have to contend with. But certainly to be able to bring the information out and explain it has made all the world of difference. Thanks a lot, Henry.
Thank you so much.
All righty, thank you. And listen, I want to let you know, if you want more information, don't forget you can visit them on their website at alquimedez.com. Follow them on Instagram. Also follow them on Facebook at Alquimedez Mental Health. We are taking a quick break, but guess what? We do have more open. Stay with us. We're coming right back right after this.
It looks bleak. It feels bleak. But the city isn't shut down, because our public services keep working. In spite of, and in the face of, the dangers, we can count on them. And to keep them working and funded, now and in the future, we need to be counted. Self-respond now to the 2020 census at my2020census.gov.
And welcome back. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected many people, including working from home and also doing homeschooling. The Zutor Concierge is a company that's matching a tutor which best services the needs of your child. The idea is to support the kids with distance learning, help and keep them accountable, as well as also engaging with other children. Well, here to tell us more is the founder and CEO of the Zutor Concierge, Elyssa Katz. And Elyssa, good to have you.
Thanks for having me.
You know, earlier this week I was having this conversation. I was talking with some friends of mine literally about just this very topic itself, about how difficult it is sometimes for kids to stay connected virtually. And so I know having a virtual tutor, as you're doing, matching a tutor with a child, is really, really needed today. So talk to us about the work that you do.
Sure. So I started the company because I'm a parent. I have 3 kids, and I personally went through a lot of challenges with distance learning in the spring. Sorry. So I ended up deciding to start a business where I would match Zutors, which I call Zutors, with families who needed support during distance learning. So I decided that I would call it the Zutor Concierge. The name just came to me from thinking about Zoom and tutoring all the time. And I just wanted parents and families to feel supported while their children were learning. This is a very difficult time, especially for working parents. And so I thought this would be a great idea. I started it in LA, and then it expanded into a national business.
Yeah. Well, give me what you've learned so far about parents, right? Because I think for parents themselves, they've been, if you're in a working environment, you've been forced to have to Zoom, and we call it becoming a Zombie now. But then when you have that whole process of actually trying to get your child in front of a virtual space to learn and go to school, it can be very complex. So walk us through a little bit about how you do the matching and the services you provide.
Sure. So a family will call me and reach out and just tell me a little bit about what their kids need, whether, they have learning challenges, or if just all the challenges that they have gone through. And then when I'm talking to the educators, I really want to support the educators as well. I want to make sure that they're going to be matched with a family that has a similar learning style to what that educator is used to doing. And as I get to know each party, I then connect the 2 parties. And my job is to make sure that the family feels that they've given, I give them a lot of tools and ideas of ways that they can be set up for success. And the educators come in with that as well. But ultimately, it's up to the parents and the educator to find a rhythm that works for them.
Yeah, and we're talking about trying to find a creative space, right? Because when you have virtual learning, most times you have this laptop in front of you, you got this desktop or this device, but it's hard sometimes to be creative. But I know that's one of your passions, about really trying to find this creative space for learning.
Sure. So yeah, I think that just making a space that the kids feel is their own, making everything accessible for them while they attend their distance learning is key. So you want to have, color-coded folders so that it's easy for them to grab their math folder or their English folder or whatever it is. And, have a chart where you can give them stickers for, good attendance or good behavior. Let them feel empowered to want to do this on their own, because the more tools that you can give them, the more, and they feel good about their the learning, they're going to be more successful. So I think it's really just important to set up your kids for success in that way.
Yeah. What are some of the ways that actually a parent can actually help to their child to cope and really navigate through this? Because I've talked to some parents already who are extremely frustrated with having to just do this. And their frustration really comes from the fact that they simply just don't know. And I think when it comes to a pandemic, we can admit that none of us have ever been here before.
definitely. I think, there's no book on this. This is all new to everybody. It's new to the teachers and the parents. So, there's simple things that the parents can do. I mean, first of all, I think it's important to lean on each other, right? So if it's not possible for you to have somebody in your house, like a Zutor, lean on your friends, lean on the kids' families. Maybe it's you switch off house week by week and you send a couple of kids to one house one week, and then you send them to another house the next week so that parents can have a little bit of a break. So, that's just one idea. Or, get an alarm, right? And make sure that every day the bell goes off 10 minutes before the kids are ready to sit down and be there for school, so that come, the start of school, you're not on a phone call and the kids aren't watching TV and then all of a sudden you're scrambling. I mean, there's so many things that you can do, little things that will just make your life a little bit easier and less stressful. And also, I mean, give yourself a break, give the kids a break. It's a very hard time for everybody. And so just taking a deep breath and, know that we will all get past this. We did it in the spring. We're going to do it in the fall. One day things will be back to normal. So just, take a deep breath.
Yeah, I think one day, as I tell people, we'll get closer to life as we knew it, right?
Exactly.
But when we get back to life as we knew it, how do you see things playing out for Zutors?
Yeah, so my intention now is to grow the business. I am going to be launching an online platform in the coming weeks where families can connect with Zutors and all over the country. I have hundreds of educators ready to help families, whether they want to help them virtually or in person. The talent out there in the educational system is amazing. I have met wonderful, wonderful teachers, people who are retired, people who've been laid off, people who just want to change. And so I am so excited that come, the future, people are still going to want support after school. So my plan is to keep connecting families with educators and support everybody through their schooling.
Yeah. What are some of the things you're hearing from parents as you make contact and you're trying to pair them up? Are there some common trends or some common things that we're hearing from parents in this time and in this season that maybe we're not paying attention to?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, I think one of the things I hear a lot, and I've been getting a lot of calls now that school has already started, this is when most of the families are calling, right? So they've tried it. It hasn't been easy. And now they're realizing they need a little help. I mean, I think something that most families are feeling is, it's really hard to get the kids just to sit there and pay attention. And, kids are constantly wanting to get up, and it's really hard for the kids to understand, this way of learning. So the common thread has just been, how do I get my child to pay attention? What can I do? They don't want to listen. They, all of a sudden they come in and they're playing Roblox, or they're playing on some video game. So, I just think it's important to know that literally every family is going through the exact same thing. It's pretty much everybody's kid is not wanting to sit and pay attention. They're doing it. This year's much better than last. I'll tell you that much. The teachers are doing an amazing job, but it's hard.
Yeah. What's been the hardest part for you in all of this?
As a parent or as a business owner?
Both as a parent and as a business owner. Tell me.
As a parent, I just think our family spent a lot of time together, and it's just been, it's a lot of family time. I love my kids, I love my husband, but it's been challenging. There's constant arguments, and I think for me it's just been I don't know, the whole thing has just been very, very hard as a parent. I get what my clients are going through. I'm going through the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
As a business owner, what's been challenging, It's been pretty great. I honestly,
good. I mean, listen. If the only challenge you have is being a parent right now, just take it, okay?
Yeah, I mean, being a parent is the hardest job in the world. Being a stay-at-home mom or a working parent when your kid's on distance learning is the hardest thing. And now, actually, I'll take that back. Running a business out of your home, working from home, and having your kids doing distance learning is very hard. I mean, you're on a call, I'll be doing an interview like this, and all my kids will bust in, and it just is what it is, right? Like, my children join lots of phone calls that it's probably very inappropriate, but they're kind of part of they come with the deal, like, they're part of the deal now. When you talk to one of my kids.
Yeah, it's called the new normal, and I think all of us are trying to cope. But I think that's great because on the one side you've recognized the problem, but then also as you recognize the problem, you've also provided a solution for many parents who are just like yourself. So, Elyssa, before we go, for people who want to get in touch, talk to us about how we can get in touch with you.
Sure. They can visit my website at thezutorconcierge.com and shoot me an email. You can follow me on Instagram and at the Zutor Concierge. You can shoot me a DM. I'm more than happy to lend my ear, text me, call me. Well, not text, but DM me. I'm here for you. I love to answer questions and be an ear for people to lean on. So come on, call me.
All right, Elyssa, thank you. You've got to leave it there. And of course, we want you to go to the website if you want more information. And we want you to also stay with us because guess what? Open is coming right back right after this.
Who's most at risk for coronavirus? People over 65, people with underlying medical conditions like heart disease, chronic lung disease, asthma, diabetes, people undergoing cancer treatment, and people with weakened immune systems. What should you do if you or a loved one is at higher risk? Avoid close contact with people. Avoid crowds. Stay home if you can. Wash your hands frequently. Learn more ways to protect yourself and others at coronavirus.gov.
When taking public transportation, don't touch your phone. Carry hand sanitizer and use it immediately upon leaving the bus or train. Avoid touching your face. If someone is coughing or sneezing, move away. Wash your hands with soap and water as soon as possible. Limit contact with poles. If possible, avoid rush hour. Don't eat or drink on public transportation. Keep your bag off the floor or other surfaces. Avoid directly touching turnstiles. Stay up to date with the latest from your local health department and CDC.
Thank you for staying with us. Well, Golden Corral is the nation's largest grill buffet restaurant chain. And the restaurant recently announced the opening of New York City's first ever location right here in the borough of the Bronx. The new location will result in as many as 150 new jobs for the community once indoor COVID-19 restrictions have been lifted. And then in line with COVID-19 guidelines, the question is, what initiatives are presently in place to ensure a safe and enjoyable dining experience for all? Well, joining us now to share a little bit more is franchisee and general manager Niroopa Harpaul, as well as the human resource manager at Golden Corral, Margarita Rubio. And ladies, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us, Daren.
Oh, I'm glad to have you. And most of all, welcome to the borough of the Bronx.
Thank you so much.
And so give us this because, as we said, you know, Golden Corral coming to New York City, out of all the 5 boroughs, the Bronx gets the nod. Talk to us about the Bronx and why our borough.
Why not the Bronx?
There you go. I believe it.
The Bronx is often the forgotten borough, in my opinion. And it's a privilege to be the first in New York City, and not only the first in New York City, the first in the Bronx. So our community has welcomed us very graciously, and we're very excited to be here.
Mm-hmm. And so talk to us about coming in, because right now, you know, technically there can be no in-person seating due to COVID-19, but you guys are making adjustments. You guys are open. And so give us a little bit about what's going on right now in the wake of COVID-19.
So we really wanted to give the community something to look forward to. Golden Corral has been a long time coming to the Bronx, and we are doing the best we can given the circumstances. So we've taken our entire dining room and put it outdoors. Compared to other restaurants in the area, we actually have a very large parking lot. Our parking lot as it is holds about 38 cars. In addition to that, our neighbor, BIM, has also graciously given us their parking lot, and that gives us an additional 50 spots. So we've taken half our parking lot and transformed it into an outdoor dining space with heat.
And so talk to me a little bit, Margarita, about just employees, right? Because we talked about once things begin to, get better, you'll see more and more employees. But this is also not just about being able to eat. It's also helping people to eat by giving them an opportunity for employment.
Right. So we were definitely very excited to hold our first open house recruitment, and it was very successful. We had a lot of candidates, and we screened each individually to fit the needs of the business, and then we spoke to them about the guidelines that we would have to have in place due to COVID, which would be their screening, their daily screening, their daily tasks that would involve the cleanliness of the outside lot,
requirements to wear face masks and gloves throughout their entire shift.
Which would be also enhanced by security outdoor for our customers coming in, and as well as the staff.
Yeah, and Niroopa, share a little bit, because I know you guys were trying to come before, and there's some things that took place to cause a delay, and then all of a sudden now you get right to the place where you're just about to open the doors, and then we got COVID coming.
So our Golden Corral location, the Bronx Golden Corral location, looks very different from any other Golden Corral in the country. We are one of the first gateway locations, which means it's upgraded features. It's the latest and greatest design Golden Corral has to offer, which is part of the reason for the delay. So we stopped construction midway, and we felt the Bronx deserves the very latest and greatest Golden Corral has to offer, and we upgraded everything.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's awesome. And so as we're talking about, this restaurant coming right here to the borough of the Bronx, talk to us about what you've heard. I mean, you've had an opportunity to interact with the community. The doors are open right now. What's the feeling? What's the sentiment right now?
So right now, people are excited to get out of the house. They're very grateful for our large outdoor dining space. All of our tables are at least 6 feet apart per New York State, New York City guidelines. We have sanitizer stations throughout. We have an outdoor hand washing station that's available for both the public and for our employees. We have masks readily available for both employees and for guests. And we've taken every single precaution that we can to ensure the safety of both of employees and for our customers.
And not just that, but like as Niroopa mentioned, people want to get outside. So if they see the lights, the tent, the music, the drinks, everybody wants to come. And it's also like a learning step as we go, since, like COVID happened, we're learning as things like open up and stuff like that. So now it is getting a little chilly, but we moved right on to getting heaters. So, it's not, we're adapting to our situation.
And we're having a lot of fun doing it. We're meeting our community. We're getting to know them. We're getting to know people by names, meeting their families. And it's a lot of fun for both the customers and for us. We're having a good time.
Because it is a community, right? I mean, technically, you're not just serving people in there just coming in and eating. It's really about community. This is the place that's right in the middle of the community. You'll get a chance to meet residents, visitors. And so talk to us about the energy that you're feeling. I mean, obviously it's a little cold this week, but there's still some good warm energy.
We see parties up to 10 per New York State, New York City guidelines. And due to limited space at other dining establishments, we're seeing a lot of people coming in to have celebrations, to celebrate their birthdays, to celebrate milestones in their lives that they weren't able to do for the past few months. So we're very honored to be able to host these customers and give them the opportunity to celebrate.
And because it's such a knit community, now we're already getting our customers coming back and like saying our names, coming just to say hello by the gate. So it's actually a really nice experience.
We really want to become the community store for the Bronx.
Yeah, well, we hope that you do. And I want to talk about, because unemployment is huge. It's huge in New York State. It's huge across the country. 22 million Americans filing for unemployment, we've heard. Those numbers continue to go up. But give us a little bit about just the fact of the opportunity for employment, right? Because there's some great opportunities for employment for people who may be in the borough and across the city.
Right. So that was one of the main reasons why we wanted to open so quickly, is because we wanted to go and offer employment to the community. So far, we have about 60 people that we've hired. Once we open up the indoor dining space, we'll hire up to 150 people, maybe exceeding, depending how business goes. And we train fully to every position. So no experience, no problem. As long as the attitude is right and the willingness to learn is there, we'll teach. So in 6 months, we also plan to become a management training site. So everyone has the opportunity to grow and excel here.
And when you talk about a management training site, what exactly does that mean as a, for somebody that doesn't know?
To become a Golden Corral manager. So we feel very strongly to hire and promote from within. So every candidate that's with us right now is a potential manager for a future location.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And Margarita, that's a great experience to have. I mean, to go from being an employee to a manager, and whoever knows, you may own your own franchise too, right? Niroopa?
Exactly, and you're seeing already how people that started, how they're doing so far, their energy, their eagerness to learn, to be here, to want to be here. Like there's some employees that will come on their days off just because they want to taste our food, of course.
And they like the family atmosphere that we've developed.
And that's what we're trying to build, a family atmosphere. Are happy to be here.
We're very proud of our the employees that we've hired so far. They've excelled, they've exceeded expectations, and we feel like we're developing a very strong foundation for when we start indoor dining.
And I know everybody's waiting for that whole indoor dining thing and for things to really lighten up, but I know you're taking all the necessary precautions and things of that nature. Give us a little bit about what the community has. There been a little bit of trepidation coming in, because we understood, when the governor made his announcement that, buffets were going to be like the last place to get the go ahead, but now you've got the go ahead. Talk about the community. A little trepidation coming through the doors?
So currently we're not operating as a buffet. We have a fixed menu of Golden Corral favorite items to introduce the community to our offerings. Once we start indoor dining, we will resume as a buffet. But COVID-19 is not a foodborne illness. The risk of getting COVID-19 is the same as you going to the bank or the grocery store. It's primarily through airborne transmission and touch contamination. So we use a sanitizer that kills COVID-19 within 45 seconds. Our filters in the restaurant are the best, the top of the line. And we've taken every single precaution that we can to ensure the safety of both our employees and our guests.
Yeah. So talk to us about what's coming up in the future.
The future, we hope to open up throughout New York City. COVID-19, it did slow us down a bit, but we're ready to go. We're learning our community. We're ready to go and meet other people throughout the boroughs, and we're looking to be the community restaurant throughout New York City.
Now, you're the former owner of the Bronx Grill. Talk to me a little bit about how you're utilizing that experience at this new location.
We are utilizing both our previous employees, and we've brought back our previous customer base, who are very grateful for us to reopen and to meet us again. And we're just, we've just rolled with it. We've been in the community since 1974 at this location. So we knew Golden Corral would be the ideal fit and what the community actually needed in terms of value and quality of food.
That's great. And so we know the community can come on out and take part. And once again, give them the information. They can do. They can take home. I mean, they got the menu. They can take the takeout on the takeout menu.
So we're available for outdoor dining. We seat up to 190 guests, all safely, all within COVID-19 compliance. We also have takeout available. In the next few weeks, we'll be opening up for Saturday and Sunday brunch and delivery through the main delivery apps.
All righty. And Margarita, for people who want to take part in possibly employment, I wanted to give you a shout out to tell people what they can do and how they can get connected if they're looking for a job.
So as of now, there's our online portal that people can just apply through there. Or if they're just walking by, we have applications with our host, so they could do both.
So our online portal is goldencorral.com.
Yes.
All right, all right. Well, thank you both for coming and sharing with us. Welcome to the borough of the Bronx. I know you're no strangers, but welcome. And We're looking forward for a great opportunity for Golden Corral to really feed and also to, generate some revenue and also some opportunity for many Bronx residents to be able to have employment and then also at the same time have some good food.
Yeah. Looking forward to seeing you here.
I'm coming.
Once things open up.
Once things get better, I'm coming.
Thanks, Daren.
Bye.
Bye.
All righty. You guys take care. Listen, we got more show. Please don't go anywhere. Stay with us. Open will continue right after this.
Hi, I'm Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr., and I'm making sure that the Bronx counts is my priority. That's why I'm urging everyone to fill out the 2020 census. The 2020 census is important because it would allow for the federal government to determine how much money and resources the Bronx is going to need for the next 10 years around healthcare, education, housing, roads, representation, and so many other things. Now let's all get together and make the Bronx count. And thank you for staying with us. The Dough Project literally brings classic dough fun into classrooms and also into your home. The Dough Project's mission is to provide young children with opportunities for hands-on, open-ended play. Their sensory kitchen class is a full-body sensory experience that actually provides babies and caregivers an opportunity to freely and safely engage in messy play together. And joining us now to tell us more about the Dough Project is the founder of the Dough Project, Chelsea Milkman. And Chelsea, good to have you.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Daren. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here too on this segment as we are talking about dough and children. And so, I have some dough here. I want people to see. I do, and we're gonna get at it in a minute. But share with me a little bit about how dough actually connects with the sensory perception with children.
Sure. So I was a preschool teacher before I founded the Dough Project here in New York City for a lot of years. And there's a sensory play is sort of a buzzword. You hear a lot about it. No one really knows what it is. They know it's important. They know it's a little scary for a lot of families because it often means a lot of mess. But really, sensory processing is just the way we take in information with our bodies. And especially little kids who aren't verbal yet, they're touching, they're seeing, they're feeling, they're listening, they're taking it all in. And when we provide them with materials that are, first of all, open-ended and focusing on the process and the experience of them playing, we really give them this amazing power to explore on their own, calm their bodies, ground their bodies, and be able to learn in a really different way. So Play-Doh was my go-to in the classroom. Every day, every week, we made it from scratch with my kids all together in the class, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, older kids. And I wanted to bring it to more families, this homemade experience of the Play-Doh. Yes, you can get regular Play-Doh. It also works. It's also great for kids. But this experience makes it that much richer because they're really involved in the process from the beginning.
Right. So you got the parents involved, you've got the kids involved. So walk us through a little bit about what exactly, if I have the dough here, right? And I know you've got some on your side, but walk us through a little bit about a learning experience and what people could actually learn just by simply putting their hands on this dough and just moving it around.
So one of the things is just kids the dough with nothing else, your hands as the tools. It's so limitless. Yes, you can encourage them to make things, right? You can have a little tea party and make little food and put little crayons in your dough, and all of a sudden you have a birthday party for your teddy bears, and you can get super creative, but also just squeezing it, feeling it, ripping it apart, pulling it apart, taking it out of the jar, putting it back in the jar. All of these little tasks that seem so trivial and meaningless to us, for a kid, they're building finger strength and fine motor skills, and they're learning early math concepts like a little and a lot and about capacity. They're learning so much that they don't even know they're learning. And that's the beauty of giving them materials like this that sort of hide the learning in their play.
Yeah. Talk about receptivity, right? So when a student has the opportunity to do this, some people say, okay, well, how receptive are parents and students to the whole process of, I'm gonna play with this, but I'm also gonna get a lesson and learn some valuable experiences, some experience I really don't even know about.
Yeah, well, I mean, parents are super open to it because it's so easy, right?
Right.
You give your kid this, that's all you need to give them. It's easier and cheaper and way more beneficial than handing them an iPad or anything else that's going to keep them busy and that much more engaging. So parents are on board, and kids, they're on board because it's fun. At our dough parties and our dough classes, it's nearly silent. No one is loud. They're all so busy and so into their work, so engaged, that you could literally hear a pin drop at a birthday party of 15 2-year-olds, which is unheard of. But they're super receptive to it because it just draws them in.
Well, give me COVID-19, right? COVID-19 has impacted everyone. And so for you as an educator, how has this impacted what you do and your connection with students?
So it's hugely affected us, of course, but the main values of who we are sort of tap into the COVID-19 new values really well, because they're all really about creating special moments at home with really simple materials. You don't need a lot of stuff. You don't need to go a lot of places. Just play with your little jar of dough at home with your kids, with your family. It's super, super easy, and you get these really special moments, getting your kids in the kitchen, making it from scratch, playing with your jars. We put a pause on our classes and our parties right now. Sharing of materials is just dangerous right now. It feels crazy to say that, but it is. It's unsafe. So what we are doing is selling our classes and our parties in a box, basically. So you can have all of the materials individually packaged. The kids you invite over to your parties can take things home with them. They're theirs, just theirs. There's no sharing of materials. I miss having the kids. I miss them in my classes. But I feel really confident that we're giving parents great resources and great tools to be able to do with their own little kids and their own little pods what they were doing when they came to us.
The inspiration for you, obviously, to actually do this came from being an educator yourself. Talk about how do you feel this is actually filling a gap?
Especially for preschool teachers, we talk a lot about bridging the gap between home and school, and bringing some continuity between what we're doing in the classroom and what parents are doing at home, and how we can make those connections for kids. And now, more than ever, your classroom is your home and your home is your classroom. So that gap is gone. So for me, it's like a dream to be able to have parents be super active listeners and be really excited to hear from teachers and take teacher advice and take teacher suggestions into their own homes. This is what we do. This is what we've been doing for a really long time. So any tools that we have that we can share with parents who are open and ready for it, that's a dream come true for us.
Yeah, and it's a benefit, correct me, it's a benefit for allowing children the opportunity to learn how to play. And even in doing it, it seems as though, hey, they're just having fun doing it. It's just a little bit of dough, but there's so much more to it than just actually playing with the dough. And I know we talked a little bit about that earlier.
Yeah, there is so much more to it. I mean, the creative thinking, the problem solving, the cognitive skills that they're getting, they have no idea. But they're communicating, they're sharing with friends, they're solving problems. They want to build something tall. It's not working. They need to problem solve. They need to troubleshoot. They need to figure stuff out. And that's really what we want to be raising, right? Is resilient, smart, problem solving kids who can really use their own minds and look into, with this jar of dough, how can I make stuff, right? We want them to be makers and creators, and a tool like dough and something like our DIY kit where they can actually make their own dough from scratch. They make something from nothing, from ingredients, and it really empowers them to feel like a maker.
And I think I have it here, right? Is this it here?
That's it right there. It's just
okay. So tell people, okay, it's the DIY kit.
That is the DIY kit. You can make your own Play-Doh. If you open that, it looks just like a cake mix. You pour it out, you add your water and your oil, mix it all up and cook it on the stove. It's literally the same recipe, same process as making Sunday morning pancakes in the kitchen with your family, but then you have Play-Doh that will last weeks, months, however long you play with it, but sort of the more you play with it, the longer it lasts. And then while you're playing it, you go back. Remember when we made this? Take pictures, document, you bring all of these connections to them. And they're that much more invested in their product if they made it themselves.
And, as you talk about it, I'm laughing because I'm saying, well, here it is, you start with the parents, you start with kids, but actually, this actually just branches out to the whole family. If you're talking about cooking dough, I mean, this is something that actually can be a great family activity that actually joins them all together.
Yep, grandparents, it's an amazing activity to do with grandparents. All grandma parents love to cook with their grandchildren in the kitchen. Parents get involved, older siblings. It's such a great way to have that intergenerational, different ages playing together at one table. It really, truly is fun for the whole family. We think of Play-Doh for toddlers or preschoolers, but when we get those older kids playing, it's hard to pull them away. They don't have the opportunity to play in the same way that little ones do, and they miss it. They crave it. They want it too. So it is fun for the whole family, for sure.
Well, I'll tell you, what I had in my hand, I was out here playing with, and I couldn't let it go. I was like, okay, let me get back to my segment. I mean, you do get entrenched in it, and it does become something that really is advantageous, I think, just for parents, also as for kids. But before we go, please, if people want to get in contact about getting the dough and doing that, how do they get in contact?
TheDoughProject.com. Follow us on Instagram at The Dough Project. Our new website is launching tomorrow. Very, very exciting. You can check us out there, available online. We ship everywhere. Send us a DM if you have questions on Instagram. That's the best way to reach us. And we're so excited for everyone to get dough cooking in their kitchens.
Chelsea Milkman, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so nice being here.
Glad to have you. All right, again, if you want to find out more information about Chelsea and the great work that she's doing, please contact thedoughproject.com. Once again, thedoughproject.com. Well, we come to the end of our show today. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us, and most of all, you, the viewer, for actually tuning in. And if you missed any part of today's show, well, don't worry. You can catch the recablecast that comes on Bronx's Channel 67. If you have Verizon Files, that'll be Channel 2133. And we also want to give a special thank you to all of our viewers who watched our Manhattan Neighborhood Network as Open is broadcast live simultaneously on the MNN channel. For all of us here on this set of Open, I am Daren Jaime saying take care, God bless. And if you want a brand new episode, don't forget, Friday, my girl Rena Valentine will be back right here bringing you another episode of Open featuring arts and entertainment. I'll talk to you later. Take care.